This is the homeschool dev, and I'm not going to be too long here. Um, the situation regarding my housing voucher and just being homeless, being disabled with minor. This all started out as a renewal, lease renewal, and my children and I thought that we were heading to the next steps in our lives, which is having a safe and habitable home and looking forward to possibly starting our business soon. And man, this is just too much. I have a clip here from January 8th, 2024 City Council meeting. And everyone should pay attention to this clip because it's important that if a city official can spot flaws within the health, housing, and homelessness, the mayor's strategic plan for housing, if she can spot the flaws from the outside, and I'm in the inside giving all this detailed information, then something is terribly wrong and this system is flawed and it needs to be corrected ASAP. I'm going to leave you with this before I start, the video. It's not the crime that kills you, it's the cover up.
Thank you. I'm done. I'm done with APD and my questioning, but I appreciate you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Madam Vice President, the next question I have two more if we're including the one going back for parks. But the next question I have is that there was a press release that was put out saying that the gateway is open and available for more services. And it included saying that it is not including anything for walk-up services. So my question to the administration is, when people are ready to get help here in Albuquerque, if the gateway is not somewhere that we are saying they are invited to go and walk up to get assistance, where are they supposed to go?
Madam President, Councilor Bassan, I asked Director Gilbert Ramirez to be here. He's a new director, but as you all know, has been with HHH for quite some time, and I appreciate that he's going to talk through some of not only what HHA's opportunity is, but also ACS in terms of how we address this.
Thank you. Councilors, appreciate the question and also what happened with the, sorry, my voice is a little hoarse from attending a football game this weekend. Yes, we gave that announcement in your understanding that all programming at Gateway has been in collaboration with the neighborhood partnerships and making sure that they want to feel reassured that we're controlling what comes in and out of Gateway and how we're serving those folks. So in doing so, one of the big things that we announced is that the receiving area is now going to be open. The construction has been completed and we are executing that final contract with regards to the provider, which will be the UNM Office of Community Health. Without a doubt, we understand that anytime you have a social service, folks may actually walk up and ask for those services and or help. And right now, they're, I think, the facility security kind of guides them because folks are coming in and out also for the 11 tenants that we have on site and guiding them to where they need to be for those particular services. But if they're specific for our programming there, we hope to be able to have our provider be able to address that service, triage it, and get it where it needs to be. It's not that we would turn anyone away from walk-up services. However, we do rely heavily on our partners to control those referrals when they come either for bed space and or occupancy. As you know, currently now that we're open, we're constantly full. And so we don't want somebody to have to come and then be turned away because we literally don't have a bed for them. We want to make sure we connect them to those appropriate services. So as we are staging up, and we've done this in partnership with ACS as well, they have a Sun Van on loan, and they've launched a new number for calls in case individuals have to be transported somewhere else. We understand during the cold winter and the elements, it's not ideal for them to walk away out into the cold and where that is. I also want to extend that we had a wonderful meeting with the County Cares Campus in regards to expansion and real clarity as to what services do they provide that we could transport them there to say you'd be better served here for those services prior to coming to Gateway. We understand that as we open Gateway, there might be a lot of misunderstandings as well. I'm here for detox, and whether that's through Turquoise Lodge, who's a tenant there, and or the services they need at CARES, we want to connect them to the most appropriate place. So understanding what their intake protocols are, what their thresholds are, and then how we connect them. We're really preparing and staging up for evening hours to support not only ACS, but that there are no other social services there in the evening. We're going to stage out the receiving center to actually serve folks initially from the late hours, like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and then we'll phase in day hours because there's a lot more resources and availability during the day. But at night, there always necessarily isn't, and so we want to be able to tend to those folks, hold them overnight if we have to until we can get them into the door of a service provider by 8 a.m. the next day. But this is the gap we're trying to fill with those particular individuals who are going to come up. But again, doing our best. I don't assume that it's going to be a perfect staging when this happens. So we're probably going to have a combination of both. And we're not in a place to want to turn folks away, but we do want to control that ebb and flow in and out of the facility, both to honor and be a good neighbor in the neighborhoods that we promised that to, and also to make sure that as we stage this up in programming, it's designed with intentionality and the right services for the right people. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps. Thank you, Director, and congrats on your new role. And so you mentioned that ACS recently launched a new phone number. Can you please tell people what that is? Do we know what that is? Because I think that would be a great
Madam
benefit
President,
for the public to know.
Councillor Bassan, I have that number. Between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 a.m., 7 days a week, anyone can call 505-549-0044 to request transport to a shelter at the city's facility or one of our partners.
Thank you, Madam.
Want me to repeat it again?
Yes, please do repeat it again.
505-549-0044.
Thank you. And in a city full of acronyms, surely we can get a phone number with an acronym. Thank you, and welcome, other director, too, with ACS. So, no, that's my questions. And then I have one more, but it looks like Councilor Rogers has one too.
Yes.
Councilor Rogers. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Hello, Director. Congratulations.
Likewise.
Just want to tell a little bit of a story, so bear with me. Just a couple of weeks ago, I met a woman at the Compassion Center with a child who wanted services. And I had the pleasure of sitting in on the study session with council and, at the time, Director Pierce around services at the Gateway. And I left there, as well as the press release, thinking people could get services at Gateway. So I took her down to the Gateway to try to get services. And this is what happened. So we go up to the security guard, and I said, hey, I'm here for housing navigation services. I brought my friend here for services. And he said, is that the Gateway? And I said, yes. I think the whole building is called the Gateway, but yes. And he said, okay, go ahead and go in. I said, well, where do I go? I don't know. I said, okay. So we walk through aimlessly in the big building to find where to go. I saw Doug Chaplin, which I knew, and so I said, hey, Doug, I'm here to get my friend some services, some housing services. She needs some housing navigation. And again, this woman is exactly who I think no counselor would have a problem with us helping. She is gainfully employed, single mom, daughter is in middle school, not on substances, like the person and wants the help. Long story short, we went to Heading Home. That's where Doug kind of said, hey, go to Heading Home. Went to Heading Home. The door has a big key lock on it with a sign for services. We knock on the door. Someone poked their head out. just kind of looked at us like, what are you doing here? Which I know is a partner. We don't control the service, but it was off-putting. Like, don't ask me for help. Don't come here for help. So I'm very persistent. She wanted to leave. She was like, this is scary. I don't know how to navigate this. Can we just go? And I'm like, no, you're gonna find the services. And so heading home just 10 minutes later, so what happened to all be coming out of the door to go to a conference room for a meeting. I got to talk to someone and they said, no, we don't do that here. And I said, don't do what here? We don't provide home walk-in services. So I said, okay, well, what do we need to do to get her some services? She said, well, I'll take her name and number and we'll give her a call back. This was 3.5 weeks ago. She's still never received a phone call. Luckily, since I have good relationships at ACS, I walked over to ACS, worked with one of the previous core responders, Lene, told her the situation. She sat down, she called Hawthorne. In 10 minutes, we got her an appointment into Hawthorne. Her ACS went and picked her up, got her things cleaned because she had some bed bugs right at Hawthorne, got her all set up with services, and it took us about 4 hours to achieve that. But I got the help that I needed through ACS. They picked her up, got her over there. She's getting great services, and I think even just got a voucher for an apartment. And so I just want to share that, just say that like we've got to do better at training the security guard at the front, which I know we don't control, but maybe our city security might be able to help out. Our security is like, oh, but just another way that we can create the actual true gateway to services that we want. So I just share that to say, like, we want to do better. We want to help you do better. And so I will continue to do that because we just she would not have, and she said that as we were driving her back to Compassion Centers, I would not have been able to advocate for myself, to stop and say, no, I'm not leaving until I get help. Like, I would have never been able to do that. And so I just want to share that as, I know we're doing great work. I've been on the other side with you doing that work, and we just have to
Do better, is what I'm hearing. Councilor Rogers, thank you, and also congratulations. Yes, I think the Family Housing Navigation facility has been up and running since right after COVID, and we learned a lot. Gateway is relatively new, which is not an excuse. You're right. We all have skills, but putting barriers into how we navigate that is never good. And so we should do better. We will work to do better. I do know the security company we have on site is through a contracted vendor. I have a meeting coming up with them as well as to what's the communication and how do you guide folks through our facility. So we'll work on that to make sure we do better.
One more last question, if I may. Do we have the MOUs finished with the providers? Because I'm hearing also from the providers that we're having a little bit of a, that's my client, you can't provide services to my client type of fighting in the gateway. So do we have the memorandums of understandings completed with how they interact together to help the folks at Gateway?
For engagement, Councilor Rogers, thank you. For the engagement center, I think we have most of them finalized. We have various partners all targeting like services needed for housing navigation, like Goodwill. I think we have Western Skies there as well. I would have to get an update on where the last few MOUs are because they just go back and forth. I think most of them are already executed. We were getting ready to prep kind of an announcement, like here's the finalized ones we have in partnership. What we have though right now is the gateway manager currently is out and that coordination happening there. And so there was a little gap in between getting those folks together to make sure how that all happens, but yes.
Thank you. Councilor Peoplecorn?
So this was very interesting because what I've been reporting on since June, every video that I've made is true. There are so many barriers that go well beyond the Gateway Center that need to be addressed, and they're multi-layered barriers, multi-layers of discrimination, and it has to stop immediately. Shut down Supportive Housing Coalition of New Mexico. Shut down TNC Management. This is the homeschool dev. I do this for my family and I do this for the housed and unhoused homeless throughout the state of New Mexico. Why? Because I'm the authority. I have the experience and knowledge and the proof to back up my claim. Thank you.